Hey folks, good evening. So we are doing a quick design review of 4 challenges that we've completed. So a lot of it was pending. So good that we are getting it out of the way. Some of it I'd actually forgotten, which was like Grow. So we'll start with Grow, then we'll move on to Notion, then GeoMart, and finally the ChatGPT one. A few points that I'd like to cover. I'm just putting them down as pointers here. Not going to go in this sequence specifically within the point, but thoughts as they come up. And as we are going along, in case you guys have anything that you'd like to ask or would like to contribute, please do so. And later on, if there's time, I mean, we are trying to keep this to 30 minutes. I don't know if we'll be able to manage, but if you have anything to add or contribute, you can just time in, right? ठीक है, so we'll get started. Grow, I think this is a very, very interesting challenge. And I think I mentioned again on the group after the submissions also came in that in case you attempted this while a lot of submissions came through, we were not happy in terms of the overall output because we were expecting, I guess, a little bit more. And then we realized that the age group that was attempting this largely has rarely done investments. There are a lot of people, a lot of you who did, but quite a few of who have never done investments. Interestingly, there was one participant who did research in terms of how to go about solving this using ChatGPT because of the time constraint. So interesting there. And the first thing that ChatGPT mentions in terms of what should a portfolio or what it should have in terms of a design for an investment app, the first thing it says is a summary of the investments, right? Interesting again that the same person, I can't recollect who the conversation was with, did not in his design put it upfront. And that kind of reflects that the awareness in terms of what is needed from an investor's perspective on the home screen, an existing investor is lack. So I'd request you, I mean, this is on a personal note, if you're in the age group of 20 to 25, have not invested yet, get investing. And this is coming from a 36-year-old who repents the fact that he started investing much later in his life. So I request you to do that. But at the same time, pay attention to this industry because there'll be a lot of jobs that will come up. Obviously, fintech is in a kind of a strange spot right now after Paytm and RBI's guidelines. But this is a very, very interesting industry. And I'm talking about investments in general. We are just barely getting started. And if you compare to mature markets like US, this is just the initial phase of what you're seeing, right? So lots of jobs, lots of design challenges, lots of UX studies that will come through. And if you're somebody who's interested in this, happy to help you along as well, because I am deeply invested into, cracking this. We did some work with other companies as well. So from here, I'll come to the actual designs. The ask obviously was, what should be shown here instead of what they're currently showing. This is just basic four items that Grow wants to show. I'll come to why Grow is doing this as well. There's one point on that. But from a user's perspective, what should be shown ideally here? And as I mentioned, right, the first thing, and these are the winners. This was from Terence. What we really like is the fact that he's not just called out what was the most important thing. So there's a holding section, there's a holdings tab on the right. But first up is something that I mean, if you ask any investor, they would love to see a quick summary of what is happening. Current status, as in a day summary. Some people like day summaries. Some people like the long-term values. Like both are shown here. Also, he's not just restricted to this section, which is very evident that needs to be done. He's tried to do a little bit, a design, aesthetic on how this section can also be shown where the Nifty 50 and Bank Nifty are. Nobody else has done that. So that was well done. Plus, he's also tried to highlight some other elements which matter for investors, right? And this is the part where what is Grow's job in this? Why has Grow decided to, put these four sections upfront rather than do what everybody is saying that they should be doing? Is because Grow gets paid. Just hold on, give me some noise. This mute. Yeah, I think it's gone. Yeah, why Grow does it? Because it's a broker. It makes money anytime you buy something. I mean, when you buy something, there's the obvious thing that you're likely to sell also. So Grow's job, yes, is to pitch in, showing what more to buy, what is trending, what is happening, right? And most likely it will be something that is in the news. Hence, most bought on Grow is shown there. But this is not e-commerce. This is investments, and treating it as e-commerce is a fallacy is what I feel. I mean, personally, if you ask me and other investors also, they might say that this is in Grow's interest that they're doing it. So what he does very nicely here, besides just showing the main thing that is needed, some tips and hints in terms of what more you can do. And this is more subtle rather than go and buy. It is trying to create that buy need, right? Rather than saying go and buy this, which he does there here. I mean, he's done the business interest, but he does it in a way so that the user also feels a little bit more interested rather than just say, the transaction part. So there's an emotional connect here. Another design also, I'll show that. Unfortunately, we somehow missed calling it out in terms of an honorable mention. There's a reason for that, but I'll show how that person has also done it, right? So this was one. This was the winner. The second one was from Meeta. Again, very nicely done. In terms of, so again, here the design quality as such is not as important as the thought process behind what is to be shown, what information needs to be shown, and the combination of different styles of showing these cards, right? You could use various styles. You could use a table format. Somebody has done that. Is also, that is something that is worth paying attention to, right? Does create a little bit, like if you compare even just these two designs, just creates a little bit of busyness up top, but I think it's still fairly fine. And I've requested, I mean, those who joined in these challenges much later, this I think happened in December, so you can go back and look at those. I don't think you can see the conversation. Unfortunate, WhatsApp doesn't allow you to. But one thing that I requested people to do was to check out the ET Money app, right? So if you've not done that, absolutely go and check out what they are doing. Very nice work in terms of mutual funds, how they classify information. But they're doing something very interesting, which I'm not in favor of. I mean, the earlier ET Money app, just before this recent redesign, was excellent. What they're doing is doing investment classes. So by investment classes, I'm sorry, I'm spending more time that is needed here. But again, very important. So they're not just showing you stock investments here, they're showing you all kinds of investment. Grow has these three sections at the bottom, but there are things beyond that, right? And Nishit recently in his newsletter post also mentioned that one thing that as we invest more money, as Indians invest more money, is we would like an overall view, right? Overall view of our investments. And that is not just, so insurance is also looked at as an investment, and FD is looked at as an investment. Can you connect all of that? Then you become like the super app of, investments, where you have an aggregated view. That could be an interesting use case that comes through, and maybe ET Money is going on that tangent. But do have a look at their home screen, how they've done it. I'll see if I can. I mean, if somebody's interested, do ping me because it's in a WhatsApp chat up top. You may not be able to see it, but that is
And
yeah, yeah, Nishit.
just I will add other app. I think Scriptbox is also trying to do something in the summary.
Correct, correct,
That
correct.
is
So
again something. You
yeah,
can.
so overwhelming. Even in my alumni group, I'm part of Narsi Muji's alumni group. Did an MBA from there. Even there, and these guys are now 10 years, 15 years investors, right? So now they are looking at how do I track my investments across properties. And me personally, so I like to do investments only via Zerodha because I get to track everything in one place. Although I have a Grow account, I don't want to do it there because taking that data and showing it here becomes a hassle in my mind. I don't have that much time to look at two different platforms. So this is an interesting, besides the fact of, what growth should show, the overall industry, what it should show in terms of an app is investments, how those investments come up, how the different asset classes are shown, and how to nudge investors to park their money in different asset classes. For example, Nifty is at a lifetime high and looks like it's just shooting upwards, and you don't know whether you should invest, right? People say that don't invest at a high. So then can you park money into a debt instrument? That could be a nudge that could be added here. So these interesting thoughts come through. Again, you need to get involved, get investing, then you'll come to know about this fantastic industry. And there's a lot more work that is going to happen here, right? Take it for granted, right? So if you've not had a look at Grow at all, if you're not aware about this industry at all, I would request you as young designers to go ahead and look, spend some time. If you'd like to have a separate conversation on this, also I'm happy to do it. That's how interested I'm in this space. Okay, so this was one. This was Grow, and these are the top two. I'll just quickly cycle through the other ones. So this was from Archit, not Archit. And I think while he's done a fantastic job in terms of a clean interface in terms of showing investments, he shows everything very nicely. Top holdings, what is the biggest change. One challenge here is that it is completely in the favor of the user, right? You need to balance the business needs as well. So here he's not showing any of the other items that are needed. So if you just compare, the other items are items from your watch list, items which are top picks, which are great add-ons from business perspective. Those get completely missed. So the main problem here to solve was not just show what the investments are, but also to show what other elements you can put in the first fold itself, right? So that is the major challenge in the first fold itself, without making it too noisy. How do you manage all of these things? How do you get the balance? Was what the main challenge crux was. Although we didn't state it that way because otherwise it would be a giveaway. But yeah, nicely done in terms of this panel. If this panel had taken up lesser space and these other elements would have been added, I think he would have been likely been the winner because the cleanliness of the design is fantastic. You can just get everything in one shot. These designs are great, but they are a little bit busy. So yeah, you have to come to a balance between the two. So this was one. Another one, so this is the one that I mentioned, and this is from Harish. I think the design quality is very, very nice. Dark mode obviously makes it look even better. But look at this section here. And this did not win largely because we are asked only for first fold, right? So anybody who's joining in new also, we only look for the first fold or a specific screen, because then that is that constraint. Otherwise, you can go and keep designing. We don't want you to over design. But anyway, what he does is he does a curated playlist, news feed, those elements which keep a person engaged within the app. So as I mentioned, this is not just now an app which is about your investments, but investment as in a stock investment, but about your entire investment, like the part of your brain which thinks about investment, right? And you do think about news, you do think about other elements. So money control does something exactly opposite of this and tries to become a portfolio manager for you. This is like a marriage of the two. Very nicely done, very subtly played through. But again, needed to be done in one fold. That was the major challenge. Doing it across two, three screens, I am sure others would have done a great job as well. But nice quality of design. Okay? So this was from Harish. And this is from Jayesh. Again, very nice, clean design. But the main part here is not the design of the elements, because these look exactly the same as what Grow has, right? Nothing has changed. What is very, very interesting, and Nishit mentioned this person was, I don't know if Jayesh is here. Most likely he's a product manager. So what he's done is a very subtle nudge here, which says, sorry for the slight breaking of the image, but he says customize sequence. So basically, what he's saying is that you as a user go ahead and do what you want, right? While this is a great idea and we like the idea, having implemented this at a scale, at a large scale product, we realized that, and we at least I've realized at Airtel, I realized that this is very difficult to do. Most of the users, I mean, majority of the users will not play around with this, right? They might play around with a watch list because we are used to that, but they very unlikely will customize the entire item. But it's a great idea. It's a good thought. Some people would like to see most bought first up. Some people would like to see, which are the stocks that have fallen the most and I'll buy it today. Different kinds of investors, right? But an interesting thought. So this was from Jayesh. And I think that kind of sums up the challenge on Grow. I think there's one more. Yeah, so this was Rutuja, and after I was looking all of at all those designs, I'm like, why did she not win or feature in the top 4 5? I think again the point is that within the first one. So this is, if you have a look at any screen, mobile screen, it will cut out here somewhere here, right? Here is where it will cut out, and then we have bottom bar as well. And then it's just about the first section that is shown. None of the other elements are shown. So the idea is not to create just a great design. The idea is to do it in that constraint of one screen. And that is the context of this entire weekend hackathon, right? We have another format which is called weekly. When it comes to that time, obviously this design would have higher precedence because it is very, very nicely and subtly done. But yeah, that constraint is not matching. So just sharing it with others in case you watch it later on as well, that hey, this design is better. Why is that not coming? These are the other thoughts that come to our head. It's a very nicely done design, but doesn't adhere to the main problem statement, which is just do one fold. No screen is this long. I think Galaxy Fold might be this big, but again, वो भी एक screen में इतना सब कुछ information. I don't know how that plays around. So this was it for the first challenge. Second one that we're looking at is Notion. And this was a very interesting challenge, largely because I think there's a personal bias that came in when we were doing the problem statement. And apologies to all the guys and gals who were trying to participate in this. Later on, once the submission came in and we looked at the submission, we realized that अरे यार इसको design करने में बहुत time लगने वाला है. So this ideally should be an independent, like a 1 week or a 2 week challenge, and maybe some of you can pick it up that way. Even then, it might be very difficult to do, right? Because there's a lot of design effort that needs to go into doing what we feel can be done out of this. There's nothing wrong with what Notion has done, right? And these are the winners. I'll just play those out as well. There's nothing wrong that Notion has done. But the thing is that if you recollect when Notion launched, and these were the early days of Notion, it was a revolution in terms of how you do document creation, right? It was just put your thoughts, get them across, and things just work out. Whereas this calendar view that they have, this is the winner entry, but the calendar view that they have presently is nowhere near that. It is almost exactly. In fact, I shared a screen, I think, in the group again. If you see, Apple's calendar, MacBook calendar, it looks almost exactly the same. I mean, it looks like a mimic of this. And later on, we realized why Notion does not have that flexibility to start from scratch and do an aha kind of a thing, because this is not a home ingrown and in-house developed product. It was an acquisition. So obviously you cannot completely redesign, completely rethink those thought processes. Hence, slight apologies to all the participants who tried to take part but could not submit, as also appreciation for all of the guys who submitted, right? Terence, Ayushi, Jayesh, Akshat, and there was one more person, Harish, and one more person, I cannot recollect the name. But thank you so much for taking part in it, for making it happen. Otherwise, this challenge would have been an absolute dud. we realize now that these levels. So going forward, we'll not try to have these complex challenges. But again, just to show, these are available on the site. Nothing new here. You can check them out again later on as well. But this was the winner from Akshat. Again, trying to do something different, a new innovative idea. That is what we were looking at. Whether it's possible, feasible or not, those are secondary items. But can the design communicate something new and refreshing is what we were looking at. This was one. The other one again from Harish. Harish has done, if you notice, right, previous challenge, very nice design here also, and I think he's won in a later on challenge as well. So I think Harish is on a roll. But yeah, very nicely done. And somebody DM me one on one also saying that, hey, I like Harish's design more, and why have you chosen that, etc. There'll always be these. See, design is an opinionated thing. I might like something today, and tomorrow I might come that, hey, yaar, ye maza nahi aaya. That might happen. But very nicely done. I think great effort again from Harish, again from all the other ones. But again, we did not declare anybody as the winner. We called it a featured design largely because we felt that there is lots more that can be done here. In the time constraint, we realize it can't be done. But go later on if you want, if you have like, if you really want to solve a difficult problem, this could be a challenge that you could take up separately and give yourself good amount of time to solve it and try to reimagine how a calendar app can be. Especially if you have the scale of Notion in terms of information, right? So our product notes, our timelines, our tasks, most of them are now documented in Notion. That is UX app when I say R. If I have to use, and you put that as a context, like most startups have that way, even product companies have it that way. What would a calendar for that organization look like if Notion was to create? Is how one should think about it. But yeah, I mean, this was Notion. Again, maybe we could take it up, Nishit, later on as a weekly challenge. Give a little bit more context, give a little bit more detail in terms of the problem, and maybe we'll have even more depth in the submission. And maybe we could have a user study also done. I think that will open up eyes in terms of what more can a calendar be, in terms of what the person's expectations are. Most calendars look this way, and the more senior you get, the elder as you grow in your career, the more congested this ends up being, and all of them end up looking exactly the same. So that was Notion. Then we'll come to a very, very interesting challenge. And somebody recently, I think, on the group has just posted about what he has done. And he's taken up that challenge himself, all the previous challenges also. But I'll give you a little bit more context in terms of what the problem is, right? So GeoMart is a joint venture. We mentioned this in the problem, but I'll restate it. It's a joint venture between two businesses. Geo, as in the Geo Digital, which is uh, the two sons now, literally a son and daughter kind of businesses, if you want to imagine it that way. Somebody who's outside India, you need to read up a little bit more when I say son and daughter, what that means. But yeah, these are two different businesses, two different companies, right? Logistics are also completely different, right? So GeoMart is a completely online kind of a thing. They have their warehouse where they stock all these items, and most of the items. So we had to do check and double check and triple check in terms of what are the items that they have. Those are also unique, right? So for example, groceries is not a part of GeoMart. It is definitely not. So we try to check and verify, is grocery, if you select grocery, does it come through GeoMart? No. Electronics, even if it is stocked like a bulb, for example, I have a Reliance Smart Bazaar right barely half a kilometer away. Even if it is stocked there, they will not get it from there. They will get it from the logistics center that GeoMart has. So once you understand this fundamental difference, and it may be difficult from just exploring an app, you can do it. But if you do a little bit of research, a little bit of reading up, I'm sure you would have got that. These are two fundamentally different businesses, not just the names, not just the entities, but in terms of how they operate, right? Smart Bazaar is completely like an retail, which is physical store. So if you put an order on Smart Bazaar or any item which is Smart Bazaar listed, it will go to that physical shop. If you put an order on GeoMart, it will go to that e-com kind of a site, just like Flipkart. It will have a warehouse. From warehouse, they will source it and send it. Hence, the delivery timelines, everything is different. Now, obviously, while it's understood that these are two different businesses and everything is fine, as a designer and as a user, why should you care, right? So that was one thought we had. Like, why has nobody thought, कि यार ये सब हटा ही देते हैं? I mean, why do you need these two toggles? But as it happens, and I've been through this previously at Airtel, where we were doing Payments Bank launch, Airtel Payments Bank and Airtel. These are two different businesses. Right now, they are merged into one app. And when that merger happened, I was the product manager there. And what happens is there's a lot of egos that come in. And this is a very interesting case study. And I'm not saying it's just Airtel or just Jio. It happens across. Some companies do it very, very well, and some companies, which are traditional companies, struggle, right? Because there is a CEO of Smart Bazaar, there's a design head of Smart Bazaar, there's a product head of Smart Bazaar, or whatever Reliance Retail you want to call it, and there are equal number of people on the other side, right? So dono ko, I mean, everybody has to be kept happy. So हाँ ठीक है डाल दो. That is how actual decision making happens. when they do not think through that, this really does not help the user, especially like if you want to try it out, especially when the cards are also different. That was the most crazy thing I've seen. Okay, I mean, here you keep a difference, but later on at least, synchronize into one card. That also does not happen. But yeah, that's why it happens. And as a designer, it's your job. It's your job to question it, right? You might not get through. You might not be able to, change those egos and, get them to understand the user need. But at least you will create a voice within that organization that, hey, as you can see, right, the Reliance retail person has acknowledged that there is a problem. They realize it. But again, once they see this, maybe they'll voice it more in their boards. They'll say, "Arey, aisa kyun kar rahe?" And later on, they'll come to a homogeneity. At the same time, there are businesses which you and me, products which we and me use, where they have the same differentiation. You can look at Swiggy's app, and they have different use cases. Instamart is a totally different use case housed within a restaurant order delivery app, right? But they've done that subtle management so beautifully. And maybe I had a bias towards it. And hence, the winner that we chose was somebody who's very, very close to how even, Swiggy does this, right? If you open Swiggy's app, it's very, very close to how this is done. And while this may not solve the problem still exists, right? The problem is that the user will still be confused. It at least helps the user understand what the difference is. The difference is here you can buy electronics and it's very well articulated. I'm not talking about the design and shading, etc. But the articulation is very nice. Even the spacing, I think there could be much more done in terms of the space available. But the articulation of the major difference is very, very easy to for the user to get. That if you want groceries, you go here. The imagery also helps. And if you want electronics and fashion and other items, you go here, right? In terms of UX, I don't think this is a great idea. Overall, it's not a great idea. But again, with what we have, with what the business is saying, this is a decent enough compromise. So this was the winner, and this was from Mahima. And the runner-up was Bodhita. So this came from Twitter, I think, directly came from Twitter. Again, it's not revolutionary, but at least there is an effort to explain what the difference is to the user. And maybe you could have used imagery, maybe you could have used larger sections, but at least there's an effort to do it. I'll also cycle through the other submissions, and some of them were very, very nice, but there were minor points due to which they were not winners. Maybe their designs were even better than this. So this one was from Akshat, and I think he's done a very, very nice job. What he's done is, as I mentioned earlier, right? If you give options to users, they will never choose. So if you give them 5 options, they will most likely go with the first one, or they will not make any choice. He's done something very nice. What he's done is he's defaulted to GeoMart. So if you open GeoMart, and that he's not written anywhere, that is self-explanatory design, and that's why it's a brilliant design. Self-explanatory ये है कि GeoMart will open by default, and if you want to do other items, buy daily essential groceries, fast delivery, then go to Smart Bazaar. Now here the reason why he did not win, and I said it's a close third. I think I said it's a close third is because the last item is not true. ऐसा कुछ है नहीं कि fast delivery तुम्हें मिलेगा. See, if you write a message, that message should actually resonate with action, right? So it might so happen that if you select here and GeoMart says, okay, it will take 2 days, you will feel कि अच्छा मैं स्मार्ट बाजार से लूंगा तो एक दिन में आ जाएगा. ऐसी बात नहीं है. It's the same, right? So it depends on what item is housed where, and rather than the delivery speed. Hence, he was not the winner. Otherwise, if that one phrase wasn't there, maybe he would have been second place or even a first place. But yeah, such subtle changes matter, right? And again, as I mentioned on the group as well, we are not looking at final designs. We are looking at candidates that this business could actually test out with their audience, with their base, that what is better than what exists. So definitely all of these are better than what is here, right? This gives no idea in terms of what exactly these are. Why should I click this? In fact, this looks clicked or not. That is also a question worth asking. This is definitely way better than that and something worth testing. Apart from the fact that this fast delivery is misleading, right? So that's why it's not been chosen, but a fantastic suggestion in terms of not saying too many things, but expressing with the design. So he's defaulted via GeoMart. That is very evident. And in case you want these items, in case you want daily groceries and essentials, then please go to Smart Bazaar. Very nicely done. Of course, later on in the journey, it doesn't solve those problems, right? So later journey remains the same. So problem overall to rahega, but first king play, to definitely it's a great candidate, right? Again, this one also very nice. It uses a toggle. A lot of you have done that. I think a majority of you have done that toggle. And from past experience, telling you the toggle does not work very well with users. People don't understand it. ठीक है, लोगों ने बोला होगा कि बहुत अच्छा दिखता है वगैरह, internal small testing में होगा, but if you put it to a scale, people don't get it. People really don't understand कि यार ये क्या toggle है. Unless you explain it here, what that toggle will do, or you give an animation कि toggle करो, कुछ मिलेगा, कुछ मजेदार है इस side पे. Nothing going to happen. People are not going to touch it. But anyway, good effort in terms of this. But more importantly, ये जो है, for again, as you can see, there, subtle nudge for the best deals for your nearby grocery store. And I think this copy is fantastic. In terms of copy, if it was just a copy-based challenge, I think it's a spot on copy. For the best deals from your nearby grocery stores, check out Smart Bazaar, which is exactly what Smart Bazaar is, right? And this person maybe is a user, hence he has understood. Janani has understood. She has understood what the major problem is. But again, that toggle may or may not work, as I've said. And one more, I think this was a fantastic submission by Meeta. Only and the reason why I'm saying is that she's highlighted the categories. The only problem is that only these two categories are highlighted. If she had repeated this later on, so what she's done is she's given a red color to JioMart, blue color to Smart Bazaar. Sorry, ulta reverse किया है. तो जो चीजें यहाँ मिलेंगी वो यहाँ पे highlight किया with a subtle nudge, right? As you can see, Smart Bazaar is red and JioMart is with a blue background. If she had carried it through a little bit more in the design, it would have worked because only this may not work. This might look like a one-off banner to the user, and he may miss it. So the business side of the problem is not sorted. Like the ego side, right? The CEO from say Smart Bazaar will say, "Arey, our products are not highlighted. Grocery is not highlighted." That is not solved for. Hence, this is not coming in the winners. But great thought in terms of conveying via colors to a user that what exists. These products exist. Maybe a little bit more copy would have helped. But again, space constraint भी है सब कुछ है ये भी manage करना है. Decent job. Very nicely done. This was from Sucheta. Again, very nice, but the problem is there are two screens. We cannot, unfortunately, given that everybody else is going in that one screen, they have a constraint. I guess everybody has to stick to that. So obviously cannot be a winner. But the thought we respect a lot. In terms of very nicely the design that has come through, that faster delivery is by Smart Bazaar and millions of product. Again, the copy is misleading slightly because if a user sees it, he might think everything that is listed is faster delivery. वैसे नहीं है, only these things are faster. The other items are exactly the same as they are. And the second part is that one thing we felt very important in this challenge is that without having to click and explore, tap these two toggles and see, the user should be able to see what is there inside the other fold, right? A lot of time what happens is as designer we say, अरे यार overflow में डाल दो, अरे यार इसमें एक toggle में डाल दो, इसमें डाल दो. It's like you put it behind the cupboard and people will open the cupboard and discover. It does not happen. You have to call it out outside also. So for example, here if a nudge was created, like here it was mentioned, some of these copies would have been mentioned. This would have been a great nudge to at least tell the user what is there, rather than the user having to toggle left, right, or switch between two screens and then understand himself or herself कि exactly है क्या ये, right? But a good suggestion and a good submission. So this was for GeoMart. And now we'll come to the last one, which is the recent challenge, which is ChatGPT. I think kudos to all of you folks, first of all, because I think this challenge has had the best output. I don't know why that is. Maybe because one hypothesis because we gave the HTML to design ready-made, and then you could just focus on the design rather than focus on the creation of the elements. But I don't know what exactly it is, or maybe it's an interesting field. Obviously, everybody aggregated towards creating something like a app store because that is what we are used to, right? And somebody asked that, what could be different? Like, can we reimagine? I'll come to that point last. Quickly, I'll cycle through the winning entries. So this was the winner, and this was from Manjusha. Quickly, I'll try to highlight why it was chosen. And we mentioned those 3 points. All of those 3 points hit home and beyond. So nudges, interesting nudges, like users have been mentioned, which is possible to do, right? Obviously, maybe in the initial stage, ChatGPT cannot do it because there may not be that many paying users who are using it. But it is a great idea. Again, here was an assumption-based design, not a fact-based design. कि अच्छा क्या हो सकता है? What are the possibilities? So this is a subtle nudge, and that nudge is being used everywhere, right? Different types of sections are there, right? So if you even now, if you open Google Play, and I think Apple does a lot more on this, what they do is they don't just show a standardized, like if you open, say, Hotstar, the new Hotstar, right? They have different ways of showing the same information. So there is a one featured section where there are horizontal cards, right? Full width cards. Then there is app logo, but slightly elongated app logos with just the name of the product, right? Then there is a different category that is beyond, and there are different formats. I mean, you can then imagine that there are different styles that are being used to convey the same thing. Otherwise, you could just show four dabbas, right? The same style of four dabbas just has section, which is exactly what these guys are doing, right? Horizontal full cards, and they're just repeating it. Just the color has been changed for featured. So that is one great idea. Second is she's used a bottom bar, which I think is a must-have here, right? So she has search in two places. Maybe that is slightly broken UX, but it's fine. But yeah, she has a category section which is highlighted twice, almost twice, which I really like, right? So all the basic 3-4 things that we had mentioned, and this was obviously post the event. If we mention it before, then everybody will just do that. But in terms of evaluation, this came through very nicely, and general design quality is also excellent, right? The way the highlighting has happened for the section that is selected right now, the way the subtle, if you can see, there's a slight, I mean, if it's possible to do on your screens, do have a look at it. For very young designers, right? This is the difference in the colors between, and these are both are FFFF. I think वो थोड़ा transparency change किया या फिर एक subtle अलग color use किया. Beautifully done design. And that's why it's number one. And this was from Manjusha, right? I think we have just 10 minutes, so I'll quickly move through. The next one is from Anirudh. Excellent work. The highlight, again, all the elements that were there earlier, does not use those nudges that we had mentioned, which others have done, but does a fantastic job of showing these categories. Very nicely, it has come through. Maybe just this Dali font could be smaller, but yeah, I think very, very nicely done. Brings out that feature set outside and looks very different from all the other designs. If you compare, I mean, I'll just quickly cycle through. It looks very different from the other designs, and it is contrasting with how ChatGPT's low key style is. It is a bit different, and hence there's a very high chance that people will try to explore it. Again, whether they'll eventually do it or not is a question to be asked. And the third element, again, different types of cards, not just one card, कि अच्छा एक card बना दो and same thing you repeat. He's used the horizontal card, he's used sections for categories, smaller ones, which are stacked as 4 grids, and larger cards as well. So this was runner-up 1. Runner-up 2, this was from Vurinder. I think this is fantastic. I think when I saw this, I was like, this person has really got what ChatGPT is all about, right? And I'll come to the point on how best one can do it. What he's mentioned here are conversation. I think one more, I think submission has mentioned this. What are the active conversations that have happened, and how many are the engaged users? Again, these are new nudges, right? We have standard ones which are rating, downloads, those kind of ones. In a new ChatGPT kind of a store, maybe these are the nudges that are needed. Again, not much effort in terms of the card styles. They are very, very similar to what exists. But these elements, these are the reasons, these are the two nudges because of which he has kind of come as a runner. Also, why voice-based? I'm assuming this is a voice-based search. Fantastically done, clean design. But obviously, design quality of the other ones was much more brighter, so to speak, right? So these were the three winners, runner-up, so to speak. And this one was from Harish. Again, I mentioned, right? Harish is almost taking part in all challenges. And look at the design quality. Excellent. In terms of the problem solving, maybe not that high as compared to others, not using those nudges, etc. And a lot of space has been taken up by the search, which is not needed, to be very honest. Given that you have such constraints in the first fold itself, maybe this section could have been a little bit more. I mean, you do not need to explain so much in terms of copy. You can directly have search. In fact, fun fact, ChatGPT uses very, very little copy. Just today we were discussing ChatGPT, even for login, etc., does not say login here or any of those things. It says welcome back. Just put in your email and go ahead. So nice work from Harish. This one is from Karan. And this was our original, like a winner kind of a thing. But one reason why it came back in terms of design quality, it is slightly lesser because there are too many colors. Like I'll just give an example. I'm not Karan, not calling you out too much on this, but just want to highlight so that you and others can improve. So you're using, as you can see, for the rating, a yellow color, a green color. These, if you tone down a little bit, the overall aesthetic of the design might improve. Again, this is an opinion. I mean, if you create it only, then one can see. But just looking at it from 5-10 feet away, it looks a little busy just because of the colors. There's not too many elements. I think the elements are again all there, right? Comments, these are not comments, conversations, ratings, all of those nudges are there. But if you had just toned down the color a little bit, color, and when I say color, it's just generically color, but specifically these items, they could be slight grays or just one uniform color that plays through. Maybe it would look better. He's also used a bottom bar, so very nice effort overall. But yeah, slightly if you tone it down a little bit, may have come through. Very nicely highlighted card as well up top. Ability to bookmark. Nice aesthetic. This was from Rinalini. So again, the reason why, so design quality may not be top notch compared to the other ones that you've seen, but interesting is that within categories, within trending, also she's tried to highlight categories, which nobody else has done. So we wanted to call it out that this could be another way, because what matters to a user when they're discovering these GPTs or trying to discover is something that is relatable and in the first word. They have these categories below. So if you scroll down 4-5 scrolls बाद ये आ ही जाएगा tech वगैरह. But to tell the user upfront that these categories exist is interesting. Now, obviously, it might so happen that it might create confusion कि दो क्यों है categorizations, but I think it's a good thought, right? Worth considering. And again, those nudges are very nicely done. Upwards, which is very different from how others have done it. Ratings is one person has done. Upwards, nobody else has done. So nicely done. And this one was from Roni. Rory, not Roni. I think very, very nice idea. So if you can quickly have a look, I mean, I don't know how visible this is. So what he's done is something like a Netflix match rate. If you see Netflix has, okay, 78% matching, 95% matching, that is what he's done. Now, how that will be implemented, lots of questions pop up, but it's a very, very nice idea. Uh, I don't know if it will be helpful for a user to pick, to explore. Definitely a person might be interested in going and trying it out, but the challenge I would say is this one, right? So the while it looks very, very nice, each of these developers, and remember, these are not large organizations, these are individual creators. If these were organizations, this absolutely makes sense, whereby you have a video preview. That's what I'm assuming, because there's a play button. It's very nice to look at, but implementation wise, it might be an extremely big hassle for a small creator to do. Because what happens is that ChatGPT will, OpenAI will reach out to them, say कि आप एक, in a format create a video preview of it. It may not transpire, right? And also in terms of number of GPTs or custom GPTs you can see on this first fold, they're just four, one, two, three, in fact, three and a half. So that was one thing that kind of held this design back. But the idea and the thought process is very, very nicely done, Ronnie. And again, this was very, very unique. Nobody else has done this match rate kind of a thing. So we wanted to call that out. That is pretty much it. Coming to the last point, which somebody had asked on the group, like if you had to reimagine, and what would your thought be? Like how would it be different from an app store kind of a thing? So if you notice, one interesting thing that OpenAI or ChatGPT has done is that within the GPT, like the normal ChatGPT, you can forward slash and then call out any custom GPT. I think rather than have a GPT store, this is exactly where consumption is going to happen. It's rarely going to happen कि मैं एक जाके I'm going to open a Canva chat GPT customer and going to have a long conversation. It is going to be use case driven, right? Small use case, complete use case, come back. So rather than focus so much more on the store, I think somebody could have thought, I mean, the real store could be here, right? Within, because you're so used to that interface of a chat GPT that within that, the, happiness comes through. So if within this, can you imagine a store? That is a thought process that one can think about. And that is one thing that I had thought about, right? कि अच्छा ठीक है, where is the usage going to happen? It's going to happen here. Unlike an app, right? So apps, what happens is you have to go into that closed section, and within that closed section, do what you have to do, and then come out of it. Whereas ChatGPT is not like that. It is a moving kind of a highway whereby along the way you have a McDonald's, along the way you have a KFC, along the way you have a petrol pump. You utilize those use cases. That could be one way. Can you imagine a store within the chat GPT interface itself? That is definitely one thought process that you could go with. Others, I would say, is giving a preview of how that chat experience is happening. Like, for example, if you go to Canva right now, I do not know what that chat GPT offers, well, like that custom GPT offers. If that preview in itself could show, and in the home screen itself, it could show that what actually transpires in terms of the output, maybe I'll be more inclined towards A, becoming a plus member, B, consuming that custom GPT. So these are thought processes. Again, very, very initial thought processes. Because you asked, I thought about it. Because my mind was also gravitated towards, doing like a app store kind of a thing, because that is what people are using. That is pretty much it. We have barely 2 minutes for questions if anybody does have. If you have other questions and we are not able to manage it, we can definitely drop them in the group basis. This Nishit, any closing thoughts to add before I close this?
No, I think it was very comprehensive. You
Ji.
covered all the points. I hope that I think designers get engaged, and I'm very impressed with with Vrinder, right?
Yeah,
Like he's taking the challenge of the past challenges and he's already
yeah,
posted
yeah.
on LinkedIn.
I'm
I
hoping
think
others
yes,
also get
that's a
inspired.
very
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
probably
That's
passing note. Yes, you can. It's not only about life challenges.
yeah. You can go back on the previous case studies and also try them. Okay, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for joining, and thanks for your time. We'll put this recording up, and you should see it shortly on YouTube. Okay. Bye bye. Good night. See you around.